Finally, these babies popped up, and now they're gonna need a little love, y'all. What's up, y'all, and welcome back to Ray Ray's Garden and part 3 of our seed starting series, Lights and Heat. I needed some seedlings so I could continue filming this series, y'all, and finally they showed up this week. Super excited, guys. So let's jump into the easiest one of those first, heat. Our little babies here, they like that consistent temperature from say 65 to about 75 or so. And so you're gonna wanna avoid any super hot areas or super cold areas. In fact, in our old house here, I need to replace these windows. And so for the meantime, I'm gonna take a towel like this and stick it at the base of the jamb, and that'll help any drafts from coming in. I'll probably do this for January and into February. It gets pretty cold around here. Like we said, seedlings like that 65, 75 degree range, but not really seeds. Especially the stuff that I'm doing, like these hot chilies, they like that 75 to 85 degrees. And the only way to really achieve that in my house is to make sure they're in a sunny window and use a heat mat. So we talked about these mats in a previous video. Honestly, the only time I really use them is this time of year, that January, February-ish time. I use them to store them hot chilies, and then this baby goes back in the closet until next year. And now, on to the most important part of this video, guys. I really hope you pay attention to the next section because this one is huge, and that is lights. Plants have 5 basic needs, y'all. Light, water, air, nutrients, and enough space to grow. Notice what the number 1 is, lights. We have to have light for photosynthesis, y'all. Without that, the plants are literally just gonna die. Not only do plants absolutely have to have light, they have to have the right amount and the right distance from the plant to the light. Outside, this really isn't a problem, but indoors it is. And this is the area where people generally have the most problem, and that is with leggy seedlings. Although plants do need different types of light and distance to light indoors, for summer crops like we're doing, we're going to use all the same setup. We talked in part 1 about the 3 kinds of lights you can use for your indoor setup. That is LEDs, you can use the T5 fluorescents, and of course, good old-fashioned sunlight. These days, I exclusively use the LEDs because they're so much more efficient and so much cheaper to buy. You don't need to ever replace the lamps on LEDs, and the technology in these lights really works well. In like the past 5 years or so, I've only used LEDs, and my seedlings are super healthy. As far as intensity and distance goes, there's a few things to consider, y'all. You're gonna want your plants to be at the right distance to the lights. If you check your manufacturer's packaging, it'll probably say 2 to 4 inches, something like that. That's kind of the sweet spot. For me, I'm generally about 2 to 3 inches, and I get really good results without burning the plants. The thing is though, you're gonna need to maintain that same 3-inch difference the whole time the plant's growing indoors. Whether that's a little baby seedling like we got right now, or even like an 8 or 10-inch seedling, they all need that 3 inches. So that means we're either gonna have to move the lights down or move the plants up. You can buy these contraptions that have like these little turning things that make the lights go up and down. You can make one. I've made a few in the past, but these days, I find it way easier to elevate the seedlings. In fact, if you look at the setup I got going on right now for these little chilies, that tackle box, that's a bunch of seeds and stuff like that in there, and then I'm just adding little spacers on top till I got my 3 inches. I'll take the spacers off as they grow, I'll switch to a smaller box, and so on until I'm at that point where I really don't have to lift them up that much. Honestly, I just use whatever I have lying around. Cheaper's the better in this house. The duration of light is another area that people have a lot of questions about. For most of these summer crops though, 12 to about 16 hours is kind of the range we're shooting for. Right now it's mid-January, the days are super short, and in fact, we really won't have that jump in time until daylight savings kicks in, which isn't until March. So for this time of year, I'm probably gonna stick around 12 hours. As the days do lengthen though, I'm gonna start moving closer to that 16-hour range, and the way I'm gonna maintain this set and forget method is with a timer. This is just a super cheap analog timer. It's like for Christmas trees and stuff like that. I've also got a digital one that I use. It's actually being used right behind me. That's why I don't have it off right now. But it makes life so much easier, y'all. It actually charges itself by getting plugged in. There's a small battery in it, and that thing is beautiful. It can adjust for daylight savings. It's a really cool little timer. I'll put an Amazon affiliate link in the description with that timer, and for something like this, and for all the gear I use. And if you buy something from one of my links, thank you very, very much. Speaking of budget-friendly options, the reason I use a southern-facing window is to capture that free sunlight that comes in. By having that sunlight right there, I'm really doing two things. Because I'm using two LED bars across each shelf, I have pretty good light, but that sunlight really adds some ambient light, and with the reflective panels I use, it just helps mix up everything, and I'm adding a lot of UV light from the sun, which that is a big help for hardening off. We're going to discuss hardening off a little bit further on, closer to the end of this series, but just know that the sun is so powerful. In fact, it's probably dozens of times more powerful than any LED light we can have. It would just fry those plants instantly if we just shoved them outside. So having that sunlight now starts to help them acclimate. The way I've got my lights set up right now, y'all, the top shelf and two more down, I can host a lot of plants. When I'm germinating, I can hold two of them 72 cell boxes, and once I pot up to my cups, which we'll talk about later, I can maybe do 24 to 30 plants on each shelf. That's a lot of plants, y'all. Just a couple of quick tips, guys. As soon as these guys germinate, they really need light. And in other words, you best be checking them things every single day. I mean, even just the other day, I went from having 0 to the next day, more than half of those little guys popped. And I was not ready. I had to hurry up and get the lights set up because they need light right away. Otherwise, you'll end up in leggy seedling town, and no one's trying to have that, y'all. The other thing to consider is having good circulation. I'm going to use this little fan along with a couple other USB ones much later and towards the hardening off phase, but for right now, this is a great way just to keep some air circulating. Because everything is so moist and wet over there, I think this just helps to add some air so we can hopefully cut down on mold problems. Although, at least a few of my plants does get a little bit of mold in the soil, it is what it is. Okay, y'all, if you're locked into this series, I'm guessing some of your seeds have already germinated and you got seedlings. Make sure you give them light. Make sure they have the right room temperature, and you will be set up for success, y'all. But as these babies grow up into teenagers, the care plan is completely different, y'all. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss part 4 of this series, seedling care and fertilization. If you're finding this series helpful, y'all, definitely give it a thumbs up. That way more people can see it. And please, guys, drop any questions in the comments. I can't wait to hear how your setup is going. We'll catch you next time. Ray out.